Hey, hey, happy Sunday, everybody. How y'all doing? It is July 3rd. Yes, because it's Sunday. I'm off tomorrow. I have to work tonight, so I have to go in. It is, what is it, 3 something? So I'll probably be up till about 5, take a shower, lay down, and get ready for my shift tonight. But, I was so there's a if you guys ever saw that show Intervention, wait, before I get started on what I was gonna say, I hope y'all are getting all the love, peace, and respect y'all deserve. Because god damn it, you fucking deserve that shit. I don't give a fuck when nobody tells you otherwise, okay? Believe that you deserve all the love, peace, and respect that you deserve. If you don't believe it, you know what I mean? So let me jump back into this. So I've been watching, some of y'all may have seen the show Intervention. So I'm a YouTube person. I love watching YouTube. I watch YouTube more than I watch regular TV. I can't remember the last time I watched regular TV. And they had it was a little snippet about a dude named Clint. He lived with his family. They had accents like they were from the islands. So I know that already there's like a stigma. Folks from the islands, they're very proud. Mom and dad was still together. And my thought was that dad was probably really going through it because, that's his son. He doesn't want his son to be an addict. This dude was addicted to fentanyl and shit like that. And he had 2 sisters, I believe, and both of the sisters did great academically. He was doing okay academically until, he started skipping assignments and skipping school. Now, at this time, he wasn't addicted to drugs, but at some point later on in life, he and his parents realized that maybe he had ADHD that went untreated, because the mom even said that at some point when he was in school, the administrators in the school told her that they wanted to test him because they noticed something was wrong. And she said, "No, you're not testing my son. That's an island thing." And I'm not trying to offend anybody from the islands, but I know folks from the islands, and there's a pride thing. No, my son, there's nothing wrong with my son or anything like that. So they didn't get him tested. And my thought is that it probably was ADHD, because he was fine up until he started, things just weren't right. And so this clip, this dude, he's in his 20s pushing 30, and now he's totally fentanyl addicted. And it got to the point where they had the person come in. They did the little the family thing where everybody reads what they're going to read. He went to treatment. He was supposed to go for 84 days. He stayed for 34 and left, talking about he was homesick and shit like that. And then when he left, he moved back into his parents' house. Now my thing is this: y'all said in y'all letters that y'all wouldn't be able to support him again, but you let him come back for a week, and then he disappeared, and they rarely see him. And they're probably, I can just imagine they're probably blaming themselves. They're probably going through it. They're probably saying, "Oh, we should have never kicked him out. At least we would know where he is." And his he wanted to be the godfather to his his sister's child. And his sister said, "Well, sure, I will give you that honor if you could stay clean." And he couldn't stay clean. So I'm just imagining like how the family's feeling. And then I thought about my own experience. Savannah's dad is a beautiful man, but when I met Tito, I don't know, it was a different kind of chemistry, right? And man, Tito and I was, if I'd ever gotten married again, it would have been to him. You know, he loved me. He loved Savannah to death. He got along with her dad. A lot of people didn't understand that. Other people that I dated, you know, they saw that me and Savannah's dad had a good relationship, and they were like, oh, well, why are you still cool with him? And I'm like, why not? We share a child. What, we supposed to be fighting? You know, because that's what people, I guess, that's the shit that they grew up with. I didn't have that issue with Tito. You know, he was like, all right, bet. Let's invite him over. And you know what I mean? He was cool with Albert. Man, I miss Tito so much. I really, really, really do. I ended up having to walk away from him because when we first got together, we were together, I want to say a year, maybe 2, before I noticed that he had relapsed. Now, if he had relapsed prior to that, I wouldn't really know because we moved in after, so then it was longer than that. Because we had been together for like 2 years before we moved in. Or before I moved into his place, I'll put it that way. So, like I said, if he had relapsed prior to that, I wouldn't have been right there on the front seat. There were times when it seemed that he was, you know, he was just different, but we weren't living together, so it wasn't something that I could actually tell, like, this was the deal. But when he relapsed the first time, when, you know, after I moved in, it didn't last that long. The first instance where I realized he had relapsed, so I had gone, all right, so I had been released from Samaritan Village because I had shouted out the deputy director on some bullshit that she was doing, and she didn't like that, so I got the axe, and that's fine because I'm employable and I wasn't scared, you know. So I was off of work. My dad, that was the year my dad found out he had prostate cancer. It was 2007. So that's when my dad found out he had prostate cancer. He also found out he was diabetic. So he was having prostate surgery. My intention was to go to Virginia and be with him for the surgery. He had already been married to his widow for a couple of years. So that's the one thing I credit her for, is that I think, honestly, if my dad was alone, he wouldn't have taken himself to the doctor. He wouldn't have, you know, seen what was going on with him. So I do credit her for that. The rest of the anyway, I'm not going to go there because it's going to be a good video. So I was supposed to go to Virginia for I wanted to be there for the surgery. However, when, you know, once I got released from Samaritan Village, well, there goes that, because I need, you know, to have money. So the good thing is my sister Melly was still alive and she was living down here. So he was down here and she was with him along with his current wife, who is now his widow. So, you know, I felt like he was in good hands. So that particular summer, that was July, Tito ended up going to rehab because he had relapsed a couple of times. But then he always bounced back really quick. And it was like, okay. But I'm going to tell you, like, watching him, well, not watching him, but him relapsing for the first time was like watching Superman fly into a building. Like, pow! And then watching him slide down, because Superman don't do that. And the reason why I knew he relapsed, because I had gone, all right, I had gotten let go from Samaritan Village. It was late June, early July. And then I went for an interview. Yeah, we spent the summer hustling, selling cigarettes and stuff like that. Yeah, we used to do that because people used to buy Lucy's and all of that stuff. So that's what we did. I went to a job interview for community access. I want to say it was October of that same year. So I'd only been out of work for a couple of months. Now, when I went on the interview that particular day, it was raining. Because I remember Gordon Huff, Godspeed to you, I hope you're okay. He had on these big ass pair of rain boots when he was interviewing me, and I was like, he kind of looks like the Gordon's fisherman. But I had a good time on that interview. I ended up getting tested to see if I could navigate Excel, and I did. I made something for Janine, who was Gordon's assistant director. I felt really good. I'm like, I know I got this job. So it was to be in, it wasn't even admin. I don't even remember. I think it was admin, administrative assistant. And then I ended up getting it bumped to a different title after a while. But so I felt good. And I'm calling him when I was on my way home, because he was like, yeah, all right, great. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to get some, whatever it was he was going to get. And I'm going to cook so we could eat something good tonight. And I was like, all right, bet. So he said, if you call me and I'm not home, this before we both got a cell phone. I think it's before I got a cell phone. I don't remember, to be honest with you. It's been so long ago. So he said, if I'm not answering, it's because I'm at the supermarket. So I ended up calling on my way home. We spoke, and he said he was getting ready to go to the supermarket. So great. Prior to this conversation, he used to talk to me about his habits when he was using. And he said that one of the things that he used to do when he was using is that when he went out to cop, he would leave his wallet and, important stuff at the house. So I remember I was calling him and he never answered the phone. So I'm like, okay, well, he's probably at the supermarket. All right, great. We gonna eat. And then I got home. So close the door and look around, and he's not there. So I'm like, okay, he's still at the supermarket. And then I look at the table. His wallet and his keys were there. So the fact that you left your keys, that meant, how were you planning on getting back in the house? But then, so once I saw the wallet and the keys, that's when I realized, okay, he's not at the supermarket. He went to go cop. You can't go to the supermarket to get stuff to buy, food to eat, and then leave your wallet home. Now, one of the things he also did was he used to tell me, like, as a matter of fact, the last time he relapsed, he told me where the drug spot was. So I put my stuff down, I changed my clothes, and I went outside. And I found him a couple of blocks away, and he was standing there waiting for the dealer to show up. And I was like, really, Tito? For real? This? For real? Now, there have been other things that I already knew he had relapsed at this point. I already knew. It's just that, man, I don't know. We always want to not accept the things that are really going on. But right here, it was right in my face. So I was like, really, Tito? Seriously? Yo, fuck you, man. So I turned around and I left him, and he's calling me like, V, no, V. And I'm like, oh, fuck off. I go to the house. Now I realized he didn't have his keys, so I put all the locks on the door. Now, this was a school day, so Savannah had not gotten home from school yet. And it was a couple of days before her 12th birthday. So I'm like, okay. I had already spoken with my sister about, what was going on. And she said, listen, if you guys ever need to come and stay here, no problem, just let me know. So I called her, told her what was going on. And she was like, just come on over. So a couple of minutes later, Tito's knocking on the door because he can't get in. Of course, he left his keys home. He's like, V, open up. And I'm like, no, fuck you. V, come on, open up the door. No, never let him in. I never let him in. At some point, I reached out to my daughter's friend Kayla's mom, because they were in an after school program that, oh gosh, it had to do with Mount Sinai. It was part of the hospital. It was some kind of program that they were in after school. And Kayla's mom used to drive Savannah home. So I reached out to Kayla's mom and I said, listen, I got a situation going on. Just let me know when you're on your way. And we left that night to go to my sister's house. That was one of the hardest things I had to do. One of the hardest things I had to do, because I wasn't just walking away from an addict. I was walking away from the man that I loved. I was walking away from the man that my daughter respected, as her mom's mate. And it was hard, because the thing that made it so hard was that Tito never treated us any jacked up way at all. At all. The thing is, he couldn't treat himself right. It was really, really hard for me to walk away, but I knew that I could not stay. I had a daughter, and I had been, at the time that I finally left him, I had been at that point working for the Bronx Defenders. So matter of fact, my first week there, because I had started work, Tito came out. I think I kind of skipped over the story, but anyway, that summer that my dad had the prostate and all of this stuff, Tito going into rehab, came out and he was great for a minute until this time. So now here we are. Was like, I think I was at Community Access maybe 2 years. And then I went to the Bronx Defenders. So now by the time I was at the Bronx Defenders, this was after I had left Tito. And we were still writing each other. He was writing me from jail and whatnot. And after I started the Bronx Defenders, I told him where I was working, and come to find out, the Bronx Defenders defended him on his last case. So I remember asking Sean, who was my supervisor at the time, Sean Riley, and I was like, listen, I'm just finding out that somebody that I was involved with is a client. Is that going to be, a problem or a breach of something? And he said, no, it's okay, it's fine. Thank goodness. So we still used to write each other, and he would call me. And when he ended up getting out, by this point, I wasn't living with my sister anymore. I had moved next door because the people next door to her had moved out. So Savannah and I were living next door. And I used to have Tito come and stay with me on weekends. He was living in a halfway house. And I would have him stay with me on weekends. Now, one thing I told him, I said, please, just don't go to the old neighborhood. Because honestly, if he could have gotten the bus and it's a straight shot, or he could have walked. It's really not that far. But I was just like, just stay away from the old hood, because that's where all your triggers are, man. Like, and then I remember I came home one time, or a couple of times. I'm pretty sure it was more than one. And I know he had been to the hood. I know. I just knew. And so, you know, before the last time I saw him, I said, listen, I can't have you come over here anymore. You know, because I don't know who from the hood is following you. I don't know what's going on. As a matter of fact, when we left that night that, you know, I was waiting for Savannah to come home from school, that was October, because like I said, it was a couple of days before her birthday. In December, that apartment got raided. So I don't know who he pissed off. I don't know who he screwed over, but they raided the apartment. So, you know, that's why, listen, when it comes to your inner voice, if your inner voice is telling you to do something, listen. Because my inner voice was telling me, you gotta go. You have to get out of here. And this is before they raided the apartment. I just knew it wasn't gonna get any better, so I left. They ended up raiding the apartment 2 months later. I lost a lot of stuff. I had a chance to take a lot of stuff that I wanted, but you know, that was that. So, you know, I just wanted to say, I said all that to say this. You may find yourself in a situation that's so hard to figure out, right? You may find yourself in a situation where you're constantly thinking about, well, if I do this, then this is going to happen to this person, and this is going to happen to that person. You know what? Stop it. Stop it. Because ultimately, it's all about what you need to do for yourself. You know, again, I love Tito to death. I still miss him. You know, I still think of times that we had where the shit was fun. I still think of the time that the three of us, me, him, and Savannah, would go out on these outings, and it was just, it was good fucking vibes, man. But I couldn't let that take control over what was the best thing. And the best thing was for me to leave, because like I said, 2 months later after we left, they raided the apartment. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. Can you imagine how much different my life would be had I stayed there, right? I got an 11-year-old child in the house. I know he was stashing some of the drugs there because I had found some. And I was like, dude, what's this? When did we start doing this? You know what I mean? And as things started ticking up, it was this, and it was this, and it was this, and it was this. That's when my mind was like, all right, you know what? You're going to have to make a pimp decision. You love this man to death, but you can't stay here. You can't stay here. So when you get to a point where you're not happy and you're trying to figure out, you know, what you need to do, stop putting other people's feelings ahead of your own. Stop doing it. You'll never be happy. And I remember for years, especially after Tito passed away in 2008, I felt so guilty because I was like, you know what? If I hadn't left him, he'd probably still be here. If we hadn't moved out, he'd probably still be here. All of these things I was telling myself, but you know what? If I hadn't moved out, I probably would have lost my daughter. If I hadn't moved out, I'd probably have an ACS case. If I hadn't left him, who knows? I might be an addict too, just to try to hang on to him. You know what I mean? So if you're in a situation where it's not the best thing, and you know it's not the best thing. People always know when things are not good for them. They always know when situations are not good. It's just, it takes a little bit of extra strength for you to say to yourself, you know what? I deserve to be happy. please just get to the point where you really realize that it's you. Listen, if I gotta pick between my sanity and hanging on to you, I'm picking my sanity. I've never been the type to hang on to something that was not good for me. Never have I been that person. And I know that not everybody's like that. But I hope that if you find yourself in a situation where you're putting someone else's happiness above yours, that you get to a space where you start to realize that that's not cool. Because if you're not happy, darling, you can't make somebody else happy. The only thing you're going to be is a crutch for that person. I couldn't be his crutch, and that's that's just the way it is. And it took me a long time to finally get to the point where I did not feel guilty anymore about the fact that I had to leave him. It took a minute, so it's not easy, but it's something you have to do if you want to preserve your own sanity. And I'm telling you, baby, we are in times right now where you have to preserve your own sanity. So if you're in a situation that you're not happy in, or if you're in a situation where you see maybe a rainbow over here, but you're tied down to this anchor right here, loosen that anchor. Because that anchor ain't doing you no good, darling. That rainbow is going to do you some good. I hope that this can touch whoever needs to hear it today. Again, it's a beautiful Sunday. Happy July 3rd. Again, I hope you're getting all the love and peace and respect that you deserve, because you deserve it. And I'm for real about that. You deserve all the love, peace, and respect that you can get. Holding on to things that's going to weigh you down, holding on to things that you are being guilt-tripped about, don't do it. Don't do it. I am a survivor of that, okay? So holla at me if you need to talk about it. Because like I said, it ain't easy, but it's doable. Y'all be all right.